Hello and welcome to our kitchen table.
You're welcome.
I am sitting here with my wife, your therapist, and today we're going to be doing a quick part 2 to last week's episode, which was about red flags in therapy.
Yes.
If you haven't listened to that, I'm going to encourage you to go listen to that one first.
Yes.
This week we're talking about green flags in therapy, or what we are looking for in a therapist. Most of it's going to be pretty intuitive, but what I'm most excited to talk about is some of what you do, Ash, in your sessions and how and your approach to therapy, because I think it's so effective.
Yeah, I think that therapy is so individualized. It's hard to say exactly what's going to be the right fit for you, but here's an example of what I do and why a lot of clients find that to be right for them.
And I'm guessing that somebody out there is going, this is what I keep thinking in my head. Like, yeah, red flags are based in like nautical flag signaling from ship to ship. And actually, if something's going well, it's a blue flag. So instead of calling it a green flag, it should be a blue flag or some stupid shit like that.
And if somebody knows about that, I would love to learn.
Yeah.
Tell me all about it.
Yeah, we're here to learn, for sure. But we're calling it green flags, what you're looking for in a therapist.
Yep.
Before we dive in, I have a few things that I want to say. The first of which is, as always, my name is Price, and I married your therapist.
Nice job, Price. I'm Ash, and I'm your therapist. Please keep in mind that even though this is a podcast about mental health and therapy, it's not the same thing as or a replacement for therapy.
As I have said before, and I'll keep saying because it's so deeply exciting to me, we're getting feedback from the show. People are tuning in. We're building an audience, and that's very exciting. But what's most exciting about it is the sort of feedback that we're getting, like the email that you showed me a portion of that you received. And I was hoping to read a little bit about it.
Okay.
Or a little bit of it to everyone. About a month ago, this is from a listener. About a month ago, I saw a TikTok of yours and immediately listened to an episode. You sharing your stories of being autistic and its expressions were like a light coming on and me realizing why I've been running into the furniture. After doing a bunch of reading online and listening more to your podcast, I'm starting to realize a lot more about myself and how this has been a part of my story.
Yeah.
And I am just so grateful for that sort of feedback.
Yep.
Because that's what we're here to do, is to help people better understand themselves, especially neurodivergent folks. And,
yeah. That's precisely what this is for. That the email, there's a good bit more to it, but just that like ability to recognize what's going on and that you're not broken and that in fact there's something wonderful about you and that there are other people like you out there is exactly what this is about. So that was so meaningful. It literally made my whole week.
I'll admit it made me tear up.
Yeah.
Because we are doing this as a hobby. It's just for fun. It's just the two of us. We are just normal people living normal lives. And on Tuesday nights, we sit down and record a podcast.
So here we are at our kitchen table, and it connected with somebody, and it's connected with a bunch of folks. And that's, the most amazing thing ever.
Yeah. So we would love to keep hearing from you if you're enjoying the show. I'm not asking for public reviews. I want you to email us. imarriedyourtherapist@gmail.com. We want to cater this podcast to our listeners. So if there is something you want us to talk about, if you have a question, if you have feedback for us, let us know. We're here for you, basically.
Yeah. What I always say to clients in therapy is that therapy's for you, it's your time, and if it's not working for you, it's not working. So we want to know what works for you and how we can provide more of that.
We're going to make a special offer.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
For the week of this podcast.
With the very generous contribution.
For the week of this episode, the week that this episode is out, if you email us, we will not only respond to your message and if we are able to talk about it live on the next episode, but you will be receiving a personalized video of our fattest cat, Trouble.
Yes. Who has been in several TikTok videos.
Yeah. Yeah. You will receive a personalized video from Trouble thanking you for your message.
Yep. That's his very generous contribution. He's taking time out of his very busy schedule.
So I'm pretty sure that the inbox is about to get pretty full.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I had to wager.
Yeah, I mean, Trouble's pretty popular, so.
Okay, let's get into the topic of the day.
Okay.
So last week we talked about some red flags that you experienced with the therapist that you had seen. You were very vulnerable. I thank you again for sharing your story with everyone.
I was surprised listening back at how angry I was about some of those things. And it makes me angry on my behalf, but it also makes me angry for how many people experience those things and have no idea about how inappropriate that is. Yeah. And that it's not okay, you deserve better from your therapist.
So, speaking of what we deserve from our therapists, what are we looking for?
Yep. Well, counter to the things that we said last time, a therapist who values your time by showing up to sessions, by communicating well with you, if they're late for some reason, or if they can't make it some week, your time should feel valued. You should feel like you're getting value out of your sessions, that the fact that the assessments, that the assessments went on and on and on. And I kept saying, I don't feel that this is valuable to me. I'm not getting anything out of this. I'm looking forward for this to be over.
What you're saying is like, I go see a personal trainer, for example, and the personal trainer wants to spend the first 6 weeks of our sessions not exercising, but just going over the plan. Mm-hmm. Like, dude, let's...
Yeah, next week I'll see you again. We'll keep talking about this plan.
And I'm sitting here saying, I would love to go do some cardio or lift some weights now. Yeah. Because that's what I'm paying you for. Yeah. And dude's like, no, we'll get there. Yeah. This is important. Like, that's what you were experiencing. In the meantime,
keep coming back, keep paying me.
Yeah, but you weren't getting anything out of it. Yeah. And that's incredibly frustrating. And your therapist shouldn't be doing that to you. You should be walking away from every session feeling like I have something, to go off of.
Then either that was just the thing I needed to be able to decompress or vent or whatever, or I got some value out of it. But yeah, you should feel connected with and seen and heard, and it shouldn't be session after session of feeling like you're not getting your needs met. Especially communicate that with your therapist, that maybe they're doing something that's worked for other people and it's not a good fit for you. The more quickly you can identify that and let them know, the more quickly they can either go, oh, well, let me help you see somebody else who can do the thing that you need, or, well, let's change course.
Right.
That's okay.
So something for the listeners who may not know, therapists build networks, referral networks. Mm-hmm. I can't see you. I'm full. But my schedule's full. But I am ethically obligated to not just close the door on you, but to refer you to a different therapist, right?
Yep. We are obligated to provide somebody at least some sort of support in trying to find somebody. I don't always know exactly the right person, especially I've had people reach out from other states, but let me show you how to use Psychology Today, or let me connect you with a certain directory. Let me get you started somewhere, tell you what to look for and how to find the thing that you need.
And I think a lot of therapists throughout their career establish contacts with other therapists that are like-minded, that they are confident in, that they can refer clients to, saying, I know this person, they're a great therapist, go talk to them.
Yes.
So this is my way of asking, what's a good therapist? Mm-hmm. What are you looking for in a referral colleague, in somebody that you would feel proud to send a client to?
That's a good question.
What are their attributes? What are you looking for? Because that might help our clients understand what they should look for in a good therapist.
Yep. The first thing is kind of intangible. I want to feel good talking to them. Like, I want to feel at ease talking to that person. Like, I can be myself, like I can be authentic, I can kind of relax in that moment. It's hard to relax around a therapist sometimes because it can feel like that very professional and
formal.
Feels very formal. But I want to feel at ease with that person. And I want to feel like they're a good listener. And I want to feel like, a couple of things. I want to feel like they really believe their clients, that they really, again, you are the expert on you. I will probably always be hammering that point home. You are the expert on you, and I want that person to see their clients that way.
Yeah.
I want them to see their clients as capable and amazing and able to like do well with a witness, somebody there to support,
Yeah.
not somebody who's directing their whole life, but also somebody who's able to provide some practical support as well too, that sometimes we need more than to be listened to. Sometimes the person sitting in front of us has a lot of knowledge
Yeah.
about the very specific thing we're going through, and we need practical support in that.
I think the other thing that I want to communicate to listeners who are determining if this therapist that they're seeing is a good fit or a good therapist in general, be courageous to stand up for yourself as well. Be bold. These are your sessions. This is your time.
Yes.
During these sessions, this therapist works for you.
Yep.
You are in charge.
If it's not working for you, it's not working. And either you need to communicate that and see if something can change within those sessions with that therapist, or if you need to go find somebody else.
I am such a sucker for like wanting to appease authority figures.
Yeah.
If I view somebody as an authority over me, my default is to like want to be submissive to them. That doesn't feel great to say on a podcast.
That's true for so many people, though, is that like we got by in our childhood homes by pleasing the parent, by being good, by being well behaved, by being those things.
Yeah.
And then, we leave our home. There are a lot of other reasons too, but then we leave our home, and when there's a professional in front of us, we want them to like us because that was a need of ours. So that's totally normal.
But just know that your therapist, if you're not feeling good about the therapy that you're getting, it's okay to challenge that, or it's okay to even see somebody else, ask for a referral to somebody else. Therapists are used to that. Therapists are familiar with, this may not be working out. Let's get you connected to if they're a good therapist, they're not going to take that personally.
And if they take it personally, not a good therapist, please move along.
Exactly.
Such a big red flag. But I tell clients all the time that just like you don't click with everybody that you run into out in the world, you're not going to click with every therapist you encounter. That's totally okay. I would rather know up front.
Yeah.
If you don't feel like this is a good connection, please let me help you find somebody who's a better fit.
You're looking for somebody who believes you, who accepts you, who is kind, but also somebody who's willing to challenge you in a kind and accepting way.
Yeah.
And you're looking for somebody who's engaged with you, who's really present with you in the moment, and willing to work through whatever the issue of the day is with you, get in the trenches with you, and actually help. Right?
Absolutely. We are just about to get into these topics, so I'm kind of withholding a little bit, but yes, I want that therapist to really believe in their client's ability to heal themselves, in their ability to with the right support, be able to be the people that they want to be.
Yeah.
And a therapist who's open-minded, who's not fazed by somebody having a difference of opinion, who has a different sort of lifestyle, that those things are so welcome here in this space. And if it doesn't feel that way, that's not a therapist I want to give a referral
And due to the nature of the history of therapy, due to the nature of billing for insurance, we don't have to get into all of that, but therapy, a lot of therapists came up in a world that was very much like the client is sick and needs help, and I am the one to tell them how to get that help.
Yes, that's called a medical model of counseling or therapy or whatever, is that the medical model is you are sick and you need someone to come in and fix you.
Yeah.
And that's what so much of the history of the field has been founded on.
Yeah.
And there have been a couple of standout folks over time who've said no, they need somebody to be present with them or whatever. But yeah, just to know that a lot of the mainstays of counseling have been, you're broken and you need a professional to come fix you.
So if you're listening to this and that sounds like what you want a professional to come, who views themselves as the only one who can fix you because you're so broken, then go find those folks. Those therapists are out there.
Sure.
But now, Ashlyn, I want you to tell us what your approach is, because I suspect that most listeners will be like, oh, that sounds better.
Yes.
I like the sound of that
Yes.
better. Talk to me about Your three-pronged approach.
Okay, so I have recently put name to my three-pronged approach that I use for counseling. Three parts. The first is that I have a narrative approach, that I think that we all view our lives through story in some way, and that a lot of us have a story of our life, the story of our life that we see played out again and again and again, that there's some deep belief I'm unlovable. There's something about me that's just deeply unlovable, and I will always be rejected. And that's the story of my life, is that anytime somebody gets to know me, they'll reject me because I'm unlovable. And a lot of times that story has been dictated to us through our circumstances, that story began with our parents, with our teachers, with our coaches, with everybody that we encounter throughout our life. And we start to believe this story about who we are and about who we can be. And when we start to realize where those narratives first came in, where those threads first came in, we can start to ask, is this something that is true? Did that person benefit from telling me that story about myself?
I would love to give an example of a story that I was told about myself by a parent, that I have to be productive in order to be of value. I have to be doing, well, what did you do today? What did you get done?
Yeah.
That was my value and my acceptance with that person was, I'm going to reward you based on what you got done.
Yep.
And I still struggle. I'm in the middle of struggling with this.
That story of your life shows up every day in the ways that you feel guilty about spending your time, or in the ways where you feel most valuable spending your time, that it needs to be productive. It still impacts you.
Like my downtime or my free time as I need to be able to relax so I can get more done. And it is, I'm not through this. I'm not looking back at this like, wow, look at that false narrative. I'm in this. But I'm recognizing that was a narrative that was kind of reinforced, that Price has to be productive in order to be of value.
Yeah. And just like in counseling, just as the way that I view narrative therapy and our lives being about story, is that what's been important is that recently you've recognized that it's a story of your life. Recently you've started to notice, oh, I do these things because I feel I have to be productive. And those are the first steps in getting to take ownership of your own story and decide what the future is going to look like.
So listener, think through what your narratives are. I'm stupid.
Yeah.
I don't commit to relationships. I am a liar. What are the narratives that you're living with? What are the things that you believe about yourself simply because you were told that those things were true of you?
Yeah.
And then we live into those narratives without questioning them because we believe the people who told them to us.
Yeah. Yeah. And the people that told them to us, we relied on in some way. We needed those people.
Yeah.
And so we needed to believe the stories that were told to us. But those stories have been dictated to us again and again over time. And we have confirmation bias. So when we believe something's true, we keep looking for confirmation that that thing is true and gathering evidence that it's true that I'm unlovable or that I'm stupid or whatever.
Somebody told me I was bad at math. I got told a lot that I was bad at math. Looking back on it, I don't know why. I'm really good at math.
You're great at math.
but I believed in that then, and then math became a struggle for me in school because I just thought I was bad at it, but I'm objectively not bad at math.
Yeah.
People told me that I was bad at math. Because I didn't find math interesting.
Yes.
That's all it was.
I just heard about the best study ever.
Okay.
Okay, not really. But I really love studies. And I heard about a really good one that applies here. So there was a study with a group of people who were being taught how to juggle. And so this group was divided in two. One group practiced their juggling in front of the group and they got feedback. And the feedback was all positive. It was, here are the things that you did well. That was great. It was encouraging. The other group got criticism about their juggling. And this is all regardless of skill level. There were a lot of different skill levels in the group. And so then everybody went off to practice based on the feedback they got. They came back. The group that got positive feedback all showed improvement in their juggling, regardless of initial skill level. And the group that got negative feedback all got worse at juggling, regardless of their initial skill level. They might have been okay at juggling coming in and had a decline in their ability to do that. Wow. We really take in the stories that we hear about us. So I think that's really important. And I get to start helping you tell a better story about your life, a more accurate, truthful one, and one that shows how capable you are.
What's your next?
Yes. The next one is kind of what we were referencing earlier, but is talking about this belief that everybody has an inner healer. And that can be as like weird and spiritual as you want it to be, or just literally your brain and your body are designed to protect you and to keep you safe. And the things that you do that don't work, worked at some point. They were the best thing that you had. And as you start to identify how those things worked for you, you can start to decide what doesn't work for you now and what you want to do. But you need an empathetic witness who's watching your inner healer do its work, and that's calling those things out to you.
I feel like that should strike everyone as common sense.
It does feel that way.
But it's not as easy as it sounds to really practice that as a therapist. And you shared with me a story of a client that you were working with in the past who was struggling with something, and you were able to help them access their own inner healer. And I was really hoping I've been amped up on that story since you told me. I was hoping that you would be willing to share what you can.
Yeah. So OCD is something that we've been very strict about the way that we deal with OCD in the field. It's definitely one of those, your brain is broken. OCD is not like, I'm a neat freak and I love to clean my house and organize.
I alphabetized all my albums.
Right.
Yeah.
OCD has to do with obsessions and compulsions. So it's these obsessive thoughts, and it tends to also have to do with the rituals around those thoughts. So for instance, one common one, hand washing, fear about contamination or germs or just like dirt in general, or a feeling of wanting to be clean. And then they'll wash their hands again and again and again to the point that their hands are bleeding and hurting because of what's happening. People with OCD would really like to stop. It's not like, oh yeah, it's great to be clean and to wash my hands. They know that they're hurting themselves. They would really like to stop those routines. And here's the key piece. Something about that routine keeps them safe. And it was rooted in something that made sense and was true. In the field, in this medical model, OCD has been viewed, again, as like a sort of brokenness.
You're broken. You need help. I need to fix you.
Why would you wash your hands until you hurt yourself?
Yeah.
That's not right. You have to stop. And in fact, the very behavioral model that we use for that is about just stopping. Just stop. Just stop. And the more you make yourself stop, the more you'll be able to stop. There is some truth to that. You can shame yourself enough that you force yourself to stop a behavior. What tends to happen in these models, at least what I've witnessed happening, is that something else pops up because that behavior meant something. It started in something that made sense, and that thing hasn't been dealt with. So now it's creeping back up again in another form. Right. So somebody who struggled with behavior around their food now struggles with hand washing, and now goes to this thing and this thing and this thing because we haven't dealt with the root issue, which is anxiety, which is survival.
Like weaponized anxiety, basically. Yeah.
So another common issue that people with anxiety can deal with is a distrust of their own body. And in fact, it's usually a distrust of some part of your brain or your body. Even the hand washing is, I can't keep myself safe. The locking the doors again and again. I might mess something up and something terrible could happen. Yeah. Another common one can be around distrusting your own body, and specifically maybe around breathing. And so somebody that I was working with was struggling with his breathing and would feel like he couldn't get a good enough breath. And there was another thing that's common in OCD is feeling like you have to take the right one. So he'd do it again and again and again until he could get the right sort of breath that was enough breath to fill his lungs. That's exhausting.
and scary.
And
that sounds very scary.
Right?
Yeah,
it
if you're
sounds
stuck
so scary.
in that, yeah.
The other thing that was a concern is that it felt noticeable. It felt like other people might see him starting to do this breathing and not
Right.
being able to get enough breath. Interestingly, autistic fun fact is that what's it called? Where hyperventilating is actually about getting in too much oxygen. That it's actually about breathing so much that your body is dysregulated.
Okay.
And so that's a thing that can happen with this sort of breathing OCD is that you start hyperventilating, your body's taking in too much oxygen.
Right.
That's actually throwing things off.
Right.
So I said, that makes sense. My job isn't to tell you that you're broken, that you need to just stop the thing that you're doing because you can just magically stop. The thing that you're doing, what you're doing is helping you to survive. So we went back through the narrative, we went back through the story. And not so long ago, he had had a horrible medical incident where a doctor thought that he wasn't going to be able to breathe and that he might die because of this incident.
Yeah.
It was terrifying. The doctor didn't give him a lot of information about what was going on.
Because here's the thing about breathing. You need to do it, and you need to do it often.
You need to do it.
Yeah.
And he became obsessed with monitoring what was going on inside of his body. This is so common. This is such a common facet of OCD. The breathing, the hand washing, that needing to monitor, that needing to make sure that you're doing it the right way, that fear around that. It is such like the 4 trauma responses episode that we did. It is so much rooted in that sort of thinking. So we're like, I got to say that makes sense. It makes sense that you feel this way. It makes sense that you feel like you can't get a good enough breath, and that when your breath doesn't come and you notice that, it terrifies you.
And then
you almost died.
And then he didn't even realize the connection between the OCD kind of behavior, the compulsive behavior to take the right breath.
Yep.
And this medical incident that
Had
he
seen
had experienced.
other therapists about it, had seen other people, and they tried to do the thought stopping and the behavioral approach.
But you were able to just help him understand that narrative, help him accept that what he was doing made sense.
Yeah.
What was the outcome?
Well, then he didn't do it anymore. It resolved itself after that. He started noticing that behavior was going away, and we really leaned into it. It was like when you feel like you can't take a deep breath, instead of shaming yourself about that, remind yourself that you went through a really horrible experience and that your body's trying to look out for you, and you're doing such a good job of paying attention to your body, and that's wonderful. And you're so attuned to your body, but remind yourself you're not in that moment anymore. And take like 6 or 7 deep breaths. Take some good ones. You know you don't have to get it right. And just starting to have that shift in perspective, it was immediate. What started changing.
I think what we're seeing here, what I'm really trying to illustrate for our listeners, is how powerful this mindset shift is. You're not approaching your clients thinking that they're broken, needing you to heal them. You are approaching your clients understanding that they are the best ones who are able to heal themselves. And you're helping them understand why they are the way that they are, and then they're able to grow on their own.
And shame keeps us stuck. That when we feel embarrassed about the things that we do, when we feel shameful about those things, we will keep doing them. Shame keeps us in that cycle. And I think that a lot of the treatment around OCD right now has to do with shame, has to do with, this is wrong, you have to stop, you're hurting yourself. Nobody wants to do that.
A lot of the treatment, period, has to do with shame. OCD is like a specialized look at this.
That's so true.
Right?
And it's a type of neurodivergence. So many things around what we do around neurodivergence. You're lazy. You just don't want to try hard enough. You just need to focus more. You need to stop focusing on video games and focus on something else. You're autistic. Your behaviors are weird and abnormal. You need to stop them. Stop doing that.
Yeah. You need to behave normally.
Yeah.
And you need to feel bad about what makes you you.
Yes.
You need to feel shame about the way that your brain works. And you're saying, fuck that. Your brain works incredibly. we're
Yeah.
going to embrace that.
That your brain is brilliant. Your brain has been doing exactly what it needed to do to keep you safe. And the only reason that it's no longer working is because you're safe now from that thing. That it was working to keep you safe. And now that threat doesn't exist. And so this thing that you're doing doesn't work anymore. But we get to acknowledge that and also acknowledge the brilliance of you doing that when you needed to get through.
Yeah.
That you wouldn't be here to look back with shame and regret if it weren't for having lived through it.
Wow. That feels like such a holistic picture, you know?
Yeah.
Talk to us about your third.
The last thing is just practical skills, practical support. I hear a complaint all of the time from people. My last therapist just listened, and it was great. I liked that they let me vent, but nothing changed. And also, I need help, especially my neurodivergent clients talking about executive dysfunction. I can't take a shower. I can't do the dishes. I can't, whatever the thing is. I need help. And just somebody sitting there and listening to them isn't all that effective. They're not processing something hard.
Yeah.
They can't do the dishes.
Yeah.
So,
no, like I'm struggling to wake up on time. I'm really like it seems impossible for me to get up on time.
that sounds really hard, Price. Ugh. I'm sorry you're going through that.
Cool. See you next week.
I'll see you next week
I'm
if I make it.
dealing with this, right? You're actually going to help in that situation. You're going to talk about what are some practical ways that we can get to bed earlier. How can we start establishing routines that you're able to get up on time?
Yes. I get to spend so much time researching that. And I also spend so much time talking to people about the same issues.
Yeah.
That if you're dealing with executive dysfunction, you're not alone. You're not the only person dealing with that issue. I now get to have this wealth of knowledge around what I've seen work. And it's not one size fits all. So we're going to talk about your unique issue, what you're struggling with, where that started, how your brain is brilliantly trying to protect you from burnout or from a lack of dopamine or whatever it is. And we're going to work through that together. But practical skills.
If you're listening to this and you're really asking us, how can I find a good therapist? Find a good therapist who believes that your brain exists to take care of you, and the things in your life that are not working or just not working now, they used to work, and you just have to learn to appreciate yourself more and to start adapting those behaviors to be more reflective of the life that you're living.
Nobody wakes up and is like, every time a good relationship comes around, I'm going to run from it.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I want that, you know?
So your therapist being like, well, you keep running from good relationships and that's the end of the advice. Like, no help at all. There's a reason you do that. There's a reason you needed to keep yourself safe in the past. Your brain is working. Let's have it work for you. Let's befriend it.
We're about out of time for our short chat, or a quick chat today.
I love a quick chat.
I love a quick chat. Do you have any other thoughts for us?
That you're not broken and that the things that you're doing make sense. And if your therapist is treating you like they don't, or if the people in your life are treating you like they don't, like speak to somebody who can help make sense of you to yourself.
Yeah.
Speak of somebody who believes you, who sees you, and also who can say, of course you're doing that.
I'll say it. I want people to reach out to us. We'll even try to help you find good resources we'll try to help you find a good therapist. You know, that's something that you're really passionate about. And I see you doing that over and over again, is trying to connect people to good resources.
Yeah, I'm really working on growing those connections. People have been reaching out from out of state, and that's kind of tricky because I'm not connected all over, but I'm getting to learn more and more about that.
Yeah.
And the other thing is like reaching out, reach out to that therapist you can't afford and ask them who else works in their space.
Yeah.
Let us be a resource to you. That's what we're here for. And you deserve it.
Where are the places we can reach out to you?
To me,
Yeah.
You can find me at I Married Your Therapist on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also email us at imarriedyourtherapist@gmail.com, and you can find me specifically at therapywith_Ash on Instagram.
Last week I asked everybody if we could get our 5 subscribers on YouTube to 6, and we got it to 9.
Oh my gosh.
Very exciting.
Blew that out of the water. Amazing. I love each and every one of you individually.
And this week only, you get a message from Trubs.
A message from Trubs if you email.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, as always, Ashlyn, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for your time, Price.
And we will see you next time on I Married Your Therapist. Man, we out here begging for emails. Hey, sir, before I have to go back to the orphanage, can I please have an email?
Just one measly little email.